everybody. Bob Wilkie here with you. Excited to be here on a gorgeous, finally, night here in Calgary. And tonight, the Nutrition Collective is going to be talking about something that, as they were putting it together, really started to strike home. Because it's something that my dad suffered with, being a diabetic and wow, just going through everything that he did. From kidney failure to dialysis to amputation, all those different things. Never really knew what this thing called insulin was growing up because I never had issues. Dad never had issues. It was never talked about. But as the ladies were putting this together over the last couple of weeks, listening to them, having conversations about it, oh my goodness, this is definitely suggested streaming material. This is something that you want to make sure that you're listening to because whether you're diabetic, pre-diabetic, have someone in your house who's diabetic, listen, there's still things you need to know about this crazy hormone. I think Mikey called it the master hormone, being insulin. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I'm going to bring the ladies in here. Mikey, Carmel.
Hello.
Welcome. Hold on. I'm going to try something here. There we go. All right. And the big reveal. Why is this one so important to you? No, just having some fun. You guys talked about the hormones and all of the different hormones. You chose this one to kind of start with. Mikey, why was this the first one?
Just because it's so important. It controls so many different things. And I think we take it for granted in our life.
Carmel, how about you? Why was it important?
Yeah, I think this is a tricky one because, as you were alluding to, Bob, people think about insulin as something to do with diabetes.
Mhm.
And if you don't have diabetes, it's not anything we need to worry about. But as we get into, we're going to talk about blood sugar levels and insulin, how insulin is involved, and how the two of them really can wreak havoc if they're not in balance. So.
And I loved it. Mikey was putting the materials together. What should I say and how should I say it? And I loved what was developed in the end there because I think everybody can relate to this one, right? Especially in the world today, and learning what you're going to learn in the short time that we're together, I think is really important. So take it away, ladies. I'll be popping in and out. If anybody has questions as the ladies are going, please put them in the chat. I'll be monitoring. Enjoy the conversation.
Okay, so the last couple of weeks we talked about leaky gut. And so we decided that from there we would go into a chat about hormones because hormones can really, really, they really do. They impact everything in our body, how we're feeling, how we're thinking, how we digest, all that sort of stuff. So then as we got talking about hormones, it was like, well, which one should we start with? So with a bit of iteration, we got onto insulin as Bob mentioned. So before we get into that, we'll take a bit of a step back and we're going to talk about, well, what is a hormone? So hormones are actually chemical molecules. So they're released in our bloodstream by glands, and the glands are generally triggered by a variety of things, the glands, organs, and tissues. So they're triggered by certain events in our bodies and to do a variety of things. So today we're going to talk about insulin. In the subsequent nights, we'll talk about leptin, ghrelin, thyroid hormones, cortisol, stress hormone, and then of course reproductive hormones that are getting a lot of airtime these days. So let Mikey go from here.
Okay, so what is insulin? Well, insulin, like Carmel said, usually gets a bad rap, but it's actually has a job to do. And its job is to move glucose from the sugar that we eat from our food into the bloodstream, and that goes into your cells. And then that's used for energy. And then insulin can also be used as storage hormone, and that helps your body to store nutrients for later use. But the problem that can occur with insulin is if it remains elevated for an extended amount of time. So next slide, Bob. Bob, can you do the next slide? Or did we get lost? There we go. Bob.
So I'm going to continue talking about now what is insulin sensitivity. And if anybody is doing any research on insulin, you're probably hearing the terms insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance. So when you're insulin sensitive, that means when you eat carbohydrates, those are broken down into glucose. Even it starts right in your mouth as soon as you start chewing. The carbohydrates are broken down into your mouth into glucose, which is a sugar to enter your bloodstream. So insulin is being secreted by the pancreas. And then what its job is to do, as Mikey actually said, it's like a delivery driver. So it's like, oh, we've got some sugar in the bloodstream. We got to take it to the cells. So the insulin will go to the cells, knock on the door and say, hey, I've got some fuel for you. You should take it in. And so when the cells are insulin sensitive, they pull in the glucose, and then you have steady energy. You stay full longer. You have fewer cravings. You're able to maintain a healthy weight. And again, your blood sugar remains stable. So that is the key. That is what we want, is stable blood sugar throughout the day.
Next slide, Bob. Okay, so what happens when you're insulin resistant? So when you eat food and the insulin's there, that's your signal. It's like your body won't respond well. So the messenger goes in, knocks at the door, and says, hey, do you need some sugar? And your cells say, no, don't need it. So it's not responding. So you're resistant to it. So the sugar has a harder time getting into the cells. So what happens is the pancreas will produce more insulin in an attempt to balance the blood sugar levels in the blood, and encourages your cells, especially muscles. No, I'm messing it completely up. I'm messing this completely up. Anyhow, more insulin gets in your bloodstream, so it circulates, and your insulin levels are just constantly on the rise. It stays in your blood for a few minutes before it's handled by the liver, and then it's removed. High levels of insulin is also hard on the liver and may lead to non-alcoholic fatty liver. So when you're insulin resistant, it causes more problems downstream. So over time, more insulin circulates in your bloodstream, more sugar remains in your blood, your body becomes more likely to store fat, especially around your abdomen, and your pancreas has to work harder and harder to keep your blood sugar under control. Next slide, Bob.
Can I ask some questions?
Sure.
And just real quick, you talk about that insulin resistant. A lot of people wouldn't recognize that this may be the issue of why they're putting on fat. Right? All of a sudden, I just noticed that, well, I'm getting older, I don't move as much, right? Like those are some general things that I think a lot of people could just start to assume is it's a natural, but and I don't eat great, you know what I mean? Like I have too much of this or too much of that. But really underneath that surface, that insulin resistance, is there anything that somebody could do to kind of become aware that they might have or become insulin resistant?
Well, we tried the continuous glucose monitor, so that's a good start. You can wear those. I think it's up to 2 weeks that you get them. And then you get an app that hooks up to your phone, so it will show you different spikes and lows throughout the day,
Yeah.
depending on what food or energy, what energy expenditures you do, like working out or just sleeping. That's a good start.
Carmel, have you tried that one yet?
No, I haven't yet, but I am, pretty keen to try it and see. Yeah, yeah, because I think, I think this whole concept is tricky because I don't know that you really know when you're insulin resistant. Um, you might know you're having crashes in energy and cravings, but does that really mean you're insulin resistant? Yeah, I think it is a tricky one.
I know going through that experiment of wearing the thing, first of all, how's this thing going to stay on?
Oh,
Right. That
sorry.
was my first, and then it's like, okay, is the needle going to hurt? Because it does, kind of go through that. But it was amazing. Just, you sit on the couch right after dinner and you watch and all of a sudden it starts to move and you're like, oh my goodness.
Hmm.
And I really noticed, and what got my attention was when I was playing hockey and exercise and how it really started to spike. I'm like, what is going on? So it is a good education piece that I found helpful. I just wasn't sure if there was something else. Like I know keto, you can do strips, you know what I mean? All these other things. I just wasn't sure if there was something that you knew of that somebody could maybe check and see if they're insulin resistant a little bit.
Well, you could definitely go to the doctor and get your blood work done. That's
Okay.
a good indicator.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, because what would be happening is your glucose levels would be staying high and your insulin levels are staying high when you're looking at the blood test from the doctor.
Gotcha.
But outside of that, I don't. I don't know that there's real ways to tell other than some of the symptoms that are showing up here on our slide. So
Okay.
even though you've just eaten, now you're still craving sweets. And gosh, I know I went through this. Certainly when I was in perimenopause, it was like even if I ate or starved myself, I still wanted sweets. It was like craziness. And and then your energy crashes. So that can be a variety of things. If you're eating the wrong food, you might feel your energy crash, so the wrong food for you. Of course, this difficulty losing weight is a big one. And then some of the other symptoms are your increased belly fat. I know Mikey mentioned that. So you have a lot of adipose tissue around your middle. um, Hard to lose that. Then, if you have brain fog, you're having trouble concentrating. And then when you go back to the doctor, all of a sudden now you have elevated triglycerides, which, a lot of us see it as we are, getting a little bit older and they're starting to test us for all our levels of cholesterol and whatnot. And then and definitely we have the tests being done on our blood sugar levels, and hopefully the doctors are testing both blood sugar levels and insulin levels, because if you don't see both of them, you're not really going to have a full view of what's actually going on. So yeah, again, tricky. I think tricky.
Okay, so why does insulin resistance develop? Well, frequent eating of processed foods are one of them. Got your sodas, empty calories, saturated fats, um, excess calories taken in over time. Like you just eating and eating and eating, and your body can't use it all, so it will store it. Poor sleep will cause you to become resistant of insulin. Just like one night of missed sleep can cause so much. It could cause your insulin to just go out of whack. And I know that I've felt that over the years. like if you just miss a couple hours, you're just hungry or just drained. And I think it has a lot to do with your insulin levels. Chronic stress and elevated cortisol, again, makes your insulin more resistant. And if you're not active, you're not moving around, sedentary life, that's not helpful. And loss of muscle mass, probably either due to aging or not moving and using your body the way it should. And then hormonal changes through perimenopause, menopause will also not help. And also genetic predisposition. So, like Bob and his dad having type 2, it probably wouldn't be very good for him to do all of the things that I listed above. So it's important to stay active. Next slide.
Well, and really curious, that the physical inactivity, right? Like the bodies are designed to move, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. In our last talk, we were talking about food as medicine, right? Another mind blower. It's like, what? Food is medicine. But really understanding that the body is meant to move. And I think a lot of people, and a key indicator for me in my learning, when Mikey's learning all this stuff and talking about it, was after dinner, my ass was in the couch, right? And you'd be like, hey, you want to go for a walk? You want to go for that? I'm like, I'm exhausted. Really, what did I do that day? Nothing, that was draining all of my energy. But I think a lot of people can get in that habit, Carmel, right? When you just automatically, you think it's like, oh, it's just a long day, like I'm just tired. Maybe not.
Yeah.
And how many people is this affecting now?
Yeah, so this is an interesting thought about, how many people really are affected. So, of course, there's a lot of people that are dealing with diabetes or even pre-diabetes, and gosh, you hear about it quite a bit where people are concerned about their blood sugar levels creeping up. And since I work part-time in a little vitamin shop, a lot of them are coming in looking for help with their blood sugar levels. But listening to some podcasts on the research and whatnot, and here on our slide, they're saying now we're at the point where there's like 1 in 3 people. Like, that is crazy. And diabetes is the one chronic illness that is costing, the countries a lot of money. Like, it's costing Canada $18 billion. In the United States, it's even more. And really, the research is saying that it is something that can be managed through diet and lifestyle.
I mean, all the stuff that's coming out, there's so much new information. It might be preventable, right? I mean, we've talked about this for so long. A lot of people think that they go too far down and then automatically the meds are, and that's the path that my dad took, with the dialysis, and like he just let it get so bad. But people can really prevent this.
Yeah, they sure can. Yeah.
It is preventable. And even, people that are medicated through diet and lifestyle, they can help to mitigate it and possibly even get off their medication. I'm not saying that it's, like it does get better, and it is treatable, not treatable. It is, you can use your diet and exercise to make it better.
Yeah. And even if you are on medication, like you said, Mikey, you can make your medication more effective.
Right.
With your diet and lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah, no question. Yeah.
Not 100%. I'm not saying it's 100%, but it is. Yeah.
Everybody will see different results.
Right.
Yep.
This is true.
And I have to ask the question. So, with insulin and it's doing all these things to my body, are there any mental health issues that can be associated with being insulin resistant?
Yep. It can affect your brain function, and it's linked to different systems such as like brain fog, fatigue, poor concentration, low motivation, anxiety, and depression. and it's insulin is used to regulate your brain energy, also your neurotransmitters and inflammation. So when insulin signaling is impaired, both your mood and your cognitive function are affected. So it's directly related, right? What you put in your mouth definitely changes your mood.
So it's like those Snickers commercials with Rhea Perlman and Danny DeVito that you need a Snickers.
It happens.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And then Snickers bar probably does help, but in the long run, it's not the right choice.
Good.
You're going to stop acting like Danny DeVito.
Right.
Yeah. And then crash.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mikey.
That's me. So what can you do? What are some practical strategies to help you to not become insulin resistant? Well, you want to prioritize protein, and you always start your meal first with a few bites of protein because that helps to stabilize your blood sugar. It increases your satiety, which is your fullness, so it signals that you're fuller sooner. It helps to reduce cravings. It supports muscle maintenance and growth, and aim to include protein at every meal. It's always good. You want to have balanced meals. And then number 2 would be eat plenty of vegetables. Vegetables provide fiber, and that slows down glucose absorption. It supports fullness again and promotes gut health, and it also helps to regulate your blood sugar.
So then you really want to think about reducing the liquid sugar. And I know when I first was looking into how I eat and how my foods and what I was adjusting affected my body, like I never thought too much about how orange juice is pretty much like pouring pure sugar into my mouth. So, but it really is. So you want to think about the soft drinks, the Cokes, the whatnot. I was listening to a podcast today talking about all this stuff. And there's some research done on a tribe in Africa, and they, prioritize protein, like Mikey was just saying. And we're all lean and fit. And then once, they started bringing in, Western world foods, and the Coke truck came in bringing Coke and the other cookies and whatnot, right? They all started to gain weight, and some of them developed diabetes. So that's like a real current world example of how the processed foods and drinks are impacting people. But it's because you're like pouring like sugar into your mouth, and your mouth starts digesting it immediately, and then it goes into your stomach and your intestinal system, as we've talked about in other talks. But your body is getting this like shock of sugar, and we're really not designed to get shocks of sugar. So that's kind of what's going on there. But back to what Mike said about whole foods, meat proteins that work for you. Now we want to start talking about really foods that work for you, because different sorts of food doesn't work for everybody. But figure out what works for you with meat, poultry, fish and eggs, and lots of veggies. Now you got to think about fruit for a bit, because fruit can also be high in sugar. So berries and whatnot tend to be lower in the glycemic index, and we may or may not talk about that further. But consider how much sugar fruit has, because I am a sugar hound, and I try to replace all my chocolate with fruit. And that was maybe a little bit of a better idea, but not entirely. And healthy fats. But as Mikey and Bob were earlier, like a continuous glucose monitor could give you real life data on what's happening. Go ahead and have that Coke, see what happens. Go ahead and then eat a pile of mango and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
So for some people, it'll impact you more, others less. So you need to know what's going to happen for you. So.
I mean, it was amazing, right? The foods that you eat, and then just watching, just sitting there, and you just watch it on your phone, and it starts to go up, and it starts to go up, and you're like, oh, it's like, is this going to stop? Because there's a range that it gives you, right? Ideally, this is what you should be, and all of a sudden, it kind of crosses that threshold, and you're going, oh my goodness, like how much higher is this going to go? So it did change my perspective of the foods, right? Because I knew, right? Orange juice, it's got stuff. So does the Coke and the Sprite, right?
Yeah.
But you don't realize the impact and how much of that, right? Because all of a sudden in your diet, you're just going, oh my, it's that too, and then it's this as well, right? And so it made me completely rethink. And we laughed about it. Like, I am not vegetables. I hate them. I shouldn't say that. I hated them. Right, Mike, you always used to yell, like, you never eat any veggies. Like, I hate them. They get stuck in my teeth. They taste awful. They're no good. But since having that awareness and changing things through the metabolic balance program, they're part of every meal, and I love them, right? Because I cook them my way, the way that I like to have them. It's very easy to do, and I can't tell you the difference. I have to have more awareness because my dad's whole side of the family has struggled or died because of diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
I watched my dad do it, and I made the commitment to myself and my family that that's not how I was going to be. So all of this has really helped me understand that Mike, you talked about, predisposed to it. Yeah, my family absolutely is. Has it changed how I am? Yeah. With my diet, with the awareness. It's amazing how it's done so much different. And Mikey, there's a couple more here that we'll pull up, and then we'll see if we have any questions. Come on, there you are. The movement in.
Yeah. So go back one more.
Sorry, there.
Yeah. So more practical strategies are walking after you eat. Even a 10 to 15 minute walk after eating, it can improve your blood sugar regulation and your insulin sensitivity. Building muscle acts like a glucose sponge, and the more muscle tissue you have, the more efficiently your body can use glucose and respond to insulin. Intermittent fasting too. Carmel, you want to talk about that one?
Sure. Yeah, there's been a lot of research on the benefits of intermittent fasting, and the first real key to it is that you're giving your body a chance to do its job. Right. So when we stop eating, our body can digest, it can absorb the nutrients, it can do all the stuff. The insulin levels come down, the blood sugar levels stabilize out. So when we're talking about intermittent fasting, it's like eat your supper, and then no bedtime snacking. You will survive. You do not need that snack. And you know what? You're probably going to sleep better. And then in the morning, you break your fast. You have a good breakfast that has protein in it. Start with your protein. And then, give up those snacks in between the meals. So, intermittent fasting doesn't have to be a 1 day, 2 day, 3 day ordeal. It's like in your day, you eat your meals, stop the snacking. So there's lots of, even in the research, they look at countries like France. Like, apparently the people in France are quite fit, they're very healthy, and they're very good at having their meals, no snacking. So for some reason over here, we've all started snacking. And I know I'm a snacker hound too, man. That is one of the things I really, really had to give up and sort out. And
7-Eleven was the downfall of all of us, right? They filled it, and I love 7-Eleven. I grew up in 7-Eleven, right? It was a Slurpee bag of chips, and
yeah,
you think about all of the products that have been created to help us snack,
oh yeah,
right? It can be that can be a really hard part to change when you're not eating healthy, is that you have all these cravings of all these things throughout the day. Well, you didn't always have those, right? It's
yeah.
just what you've become accustomed to. I have a question here. It says, is it important to eat 3 meals a day, or can I graze? And then how does that affect my insulin levels?
Wow, that's a good question.
Let's go with the first one. Is it important to eat 3 meals a day?
Yes.
Why?
I would prefer that, like 3 meals a day and then fasting in between. That's what I've been working towards. Because then you eat what you're supposed to. If it's a balanced meal, and then you have a break in between, you give your body time to respond to the food that you've given it, and then it utilizes everything, and then you have your lunch, and same, you eat that, and then your body can manage it properly rather than eating all day. That's the way I feel.
Okay.
Because if you're eating all day, your body doesn't get a break.
I mean, Carmel, you talked about the grazing, right? Why that's so negative, but how can you elaborate a little bit on how it affects the insulin levels when we do eat 3 a day? Like, can I eat? Is there a certain time period that I should eat in between?
Well, I think it's different for each person, but I know Mikey was explaining how the metabolic balance works, and they use 5 hours between the meals, right? And that makes sense to me. I know years ago I was working with a trainer, and they're going, okay, let's see, how you're eating and all that. And they wanted me to eat snack. So we even have put it, developed it into our, like, you probably even experience that too, Bob. Like, oh, you're an athlete. Do you need to eat all the time? And that did not work for me at all. And yeah, I do much better when I actually, when you actually feel hungry. Like, wow, I think we forget about what that feels like, right? When you actually feel hungry before you're having your next meal, like that's a thing.
I think that was a big part of growing up, was, because your furnace is burning 5,500, 6,000 calories with all the activity that you're doing. You got to feed that consistently. And I think that's what caused a lot of problems for me, actually learning this now, that if I would have eaten bigger meals and maybe had more protein in my meals, I wouldn't have snacked as much, which caused, yeah, you can't sleep, like when we were getting ready for performances at night, like you had to ramp yourself up, but then you had to ramp yourself down, right? And so
Yeah.
now I have a big meal after a game that's usually some sort of crap, you know what I mean? A couple of beers, because that's how I learned to kind of get ready to go to sleep, because we had to do it again tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't think my levels were balanced at all, during that entire time that I was a player, because I wasn't eating like my body should have been fed, to be honest.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
It's fascinating
Yeah.
coming from that world, and how we ate and what we ate, and the whole theory around it is we were just mindless. Okay, that's what they're telling us we should do, then that's what we should do, right? It was
Yeah.
chicken and pasta. There was no veggies. You might get some shitty broccoli at the end that were, cooked too bad, nobody would eat them anyway. We would play games with them, or you know what I mean, some sort of practical joke. None of us liked.
Who likes broccoli, even though it's the superfood, right? Yeah.
Broccoli for you.
Poor
all the
Bob.
rookies, you got to eat all the broccoli. The last couple strategies are,
Oh my gosh. All right. So, if there is anything, and I know we've talked about sleep in the past, but wow, like, have you ever, had a really great sleep, and then you get up the next morning, you're not even worried about eating or whatever, you're ready to take off and have your day. And then another night, you've had really crappy sleep and all you want to do is like either have one of those big lattes from Starbucks is loaded with sugar, and one of their baked items are just a big giant donut. Like, oh my gosh, it's brutal.
They're so
But that's telling you something, right? Like, holy cow, that is telling you when you do not get a good sleep, your body has not sorted out everything. And you have definitely your insulin sensitivity is gonzo, and you're going to have some cravings. So I actually I mean, this is kind of a weird example, but over the weekend we helped our kids move, and it was a busy weekend. And then one of our other kids was visiting, so we were staying up later than we normally do and getting up early, busy, busy, busy. Then Monday morning I got up early because I was traveling to Edmonton to go visit my mom. And man, Monday morning, I was a wreck. I could actually tell that my body just kind of went into halt mode and it was not going to do anything. So I didn't have a good sleep. Oh, and then on top of that, I was driving in the rain. So it was a really stressful drive. And yeah, my body was not doing any digesting. It wasn't doing, there was no blood sugar moving anywhere. It was just like,
just pull over, Carmel. Pull over.
yeah. Should have pulled
Get a
over and
Snickers.
had a good sleep, I guess.
50 deep squats, couple
Right.
of deep breaths,
Hey,
and you're good to go.
I did not do my squats before I left. That was probably was
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
Well, again,
sleep,
I think it's so important, right? Life is hard, and if we're not aware of these things, people always say balance, and I've had lots of people, tell me you're full of shit, Bob, right? That there's no such thing as balance. And I'm like, okay, well, let's have a conversation around that, right? Because when was the last time you ever felt balance? It's like, well, I don't know, I can't even remember. It's like, well, maybe that's the problem, is you've never achieved it.
yeah. Yeah.
Right, and how much food is medicine, and how much it does contribute to the fact that you can't go to sleep and then you wake up, right, that you've got heartburn where you have a Gaviscon beside the bed because you got to take that just so you can try and sleep, right? Like
Yeah.
there's all these different things that we just become accustomed to. And to be honest, and I lived that life, right, just fat and lazy, right? Did I know that some of these things were contributing? For sure. Did I know that it was having that much of an impact?
No.
No, right? My ignorance was my curse. And Mikey, I'm going to ask you this one. Is it important, or why do you think that balancing blood sugar is important for people who don't have diabetes?
Well, it is that master hormone that we talked about. To have your insulin maintain balance, it's crucial, because if it's out of balance, it can trigger like a domino effect, and it affects the production. It disrupts the production and the conversion and sensitivity of every other hormone in your body. Like it's just like the starting point, and it could throw off, like we'll talk about later, your stress, your cortisol, your leptin, your ghrelin, which is going to be next week that we'll talk about. What else? Your melatonin, so your sleep, your sex hormones, everything. Like it's just a downward, goes down the line if you don't get it into check, which I never knew. Like I just always took it for granted. And having gestational diabetes, they told me that, and I thought it was the end of the world, but I didn't even know what they were talking about. And now it's like, holy cow. Like there's all these things that I'm thinking about, and like with you with your hockey career, it's just, you look back on it, it's like, man, I wish I would have known this earlier.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have been so moody, right, Bob?
It was one of the questions I was going to ask, actually. When women get into the moon phase, as we'll call it, if they don't have if their insulin is out of whack, I can't imagine how much more havoc that's going to wreak on them with their body doing what it magically does. Like, is that something that people should, women should consider?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I
And
would have
men.
known this. Yeah.
And men.
And
Yeah. Like you look at it now, like andropause, you got menopause, you got andropause. So you've got both men and women, and they've got hormones, like men, not so much as women, but it affects them as well. And it all goes back to insulin being the master hormone, right? Your sugar, what you're eating, what you're feeding yourself.
Question I have here, is Celion cinnamon good to help insulin?
Cylon, yeah.
Cylon?
Cinnamon. Yeah, it helps to manage your blood sugar. Yeah. 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 So yeah, one of the ways you could do it is like I'd like to have coffee in the morning. So I actually put a little bit of cinnamon on top of my coffee in the morning. And so yeah, it starts the day. You know, you want to start your day a lot of what we talk about in our consulting business with nutrition is, start with protein. So you're balancing your blood sugar level. Like we'll talk about this like all the time. But one of the other ways you eat protein, one of the other ways is, use some cinnamon. Yeah.
Mikey, I know you use this all the time. But what about apple cider vinegar? Is that another thing that can help?
It helps you break down your food.
Okay.
Apple cider vinegar, that's more to help you.
Helps with your digestion. Yeah. We'll look into later about how blood sugar levels and digestion work together, I think. Yeah. Yeah. And another talk.
It's a fascinating topic that a lot of people could be aware of. Like you said, Carmel, the issue is growing, right? We've already got a taxed medical system. Anybody who's been to an emergency room or tried to make a doctor's appointment knows exactly what we're talking about, right? And some of these simple things of what you're eating, more protein, vegetables, right? Staying away from the sugary drinks. I love going to the grocery store now because I never go in the middle anymore.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
crazy. You guys would talk about, it's just the perimeter shopping. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Now, when I actually go to the grocery store, I don't go down the middle aisles unless it's for some sort of spice, right? Other than that, everything in there is just not good for me.
Toilet paper.
It's crazy when you step back and take a look now. Like you just look at it and it's food. And I think it's like, what are the main ingredients? Corn and soy and wheat. Like the three main ingredients of almost everything that's in the center of that store. And they just recreated it different ways to make it taste different.
And then the chemicals, right? The chemicals for preservatives or dyes, or the stuff. Like one of the things we haven't really said yet, but when people are trying to manage their blood sugar level or lose weight, like there's the whole concept of, well, you just need more willpower. Well, it really isn't that, right? It is, that stuff is made to be addictive.
Yeah.
So, your best chance is to just try to stay away from it and, lean more towards whole foods, and you'll have, half a chance to be successful, like truly.
I think it's important to say that, indulging once in a while in your, treat of choice is not a bad thing. You've been introduced to it, right? You kind of miss it. You kind of look forward to it even, right? We don't need to deny ourselves, but what we have to do is the moderation and the managing of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then see how you feel. See how you feel when you eat that.
Taught through the metabolic program is you have your cheat meal, one cheat meal a week. You can have one cheat meal, whatever you want. And I remember the first time it's like, oh, I haven't had this. It's going to be awesome. And 2 days, man, like it was like a hangover.
Yeah.
It was terrible. Slept like crap. Right. Now I know why every weekend was sitting in the corner of the couch watching TV. Right.
I can't move.
because I would have the homemade pizza that we would make that is so good on Friday night. And then what did I have first thing Saturday when I woke up for breakfast? The rest of the pizza. Right. And I don't think a lot of people recognize that we are kind of our own worst enemy at times, right? And ignorance is not bliss. Ladies, very valuable conversation. I want to pull this up because it's important that you talk about what you do and what you offer. And then we can close it up.
Go ahead, Carmel.
Yeah, so I'm certified holistic nutrition consultant, and what we use as a tool is the nutrition systems profile. So we'll send you a survey that gives a variety of questions on it, but really what we're doing is we're looking at the symptoms you have, and we can look at that and determine where is probably the imbalance we need to deal with you first. And, blood sugar levels certainly could be one of them. The other thing that I'm working on right now is my certification in live and dry blood analysis. So it's really cool, I think, of course. And what it can tell you is, how are you digesting your food? Are you deficient in any vitamins, nutrients, your electrolyte levels? How's your hydration going? And it can also show some imbalances. So if you have any interest in that, give me a little note on the community, and we can take a look at your blood. It's quite an easy little session. We do need a special microscope for it that I have. And anyways, we can go from there.
And then what I do, I'm a certified holistic nutrition consultant, and I'm a metabolic balance coach. So what that does is it takes your blood work and it will create a meal plan based on your specific markers in your blood. And then I coach you through it and get you through and make you feel better.
I've used both. I can give testimonials. I don't mind. Starting the metabolic balance has changed everything for me. To be 57 years old and at the same weight I was when I was playing hockey 20 years ago, 25. Holy shit. 26 years ago. I'm getting old. Yeah. No inflammation, no pain, more energy. It's just been crazy. And then going and sitting with Carmel and seeing my blood under the microscope and all the different things it could potentially mean, and started adding more, help me out with into my water because my blood was drying out.
Your electrolytes, good.
Yes, thank you.
Nice.
Right. So not drinking a Gatorade, right? Because the Gatorade is filled with sugar.
Sure.
But using Mikey's mixture that she's made of that, and again, clear skin, clear head, better sleep. It's just changed everything. So going down this journey of figuring out what's under the hood, and really doing a deep dive and committing to, the cost and whatever else, right? You would do it for your car because you need to get around. The unfortunate part is we don't have it in the proper perspective of our bodies and what that means when we can't move around, right? A flat tire or a blown engine, that you'll figure it out. But you know what I mean? A bad heart or diabetes, totally different thing that you have to learn how to live with. And if you can prevent that now, then I highly recommend that you do it. So thank you, ladies, for changing my life and helping me feel better. Next week, what are we talking about?
Next week is going to be, well, not next week, the fall, 2 weeks from now. It's leptin and ghrelin.
Can you give us like a little exciting preemptive to that? Because I don't know what that means.
Leptin and ghrelin are your controls your hunger and your satiety, so your fullness. You got any more you want to add? Wasn't prepared for that question, Bob.
And that's why we need to talk about them, because it's like a what?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Might be a shorty, but it'll be interesting too.
Yeah.
And if you're watching any of the series that are on our YouTube or in our Facebook feed, you go back, right? If you catch one and you're not like, what were they talking about? You can go back to it. That's why we are doing this, right?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, ladies. Great job tonight. That was awesome. Right on. Love it. Love it. And we'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Take care of yourselves and start practicing some of the stuff that the ladies are sharing with you. It will change your life. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.